This is a Becca Basic Phonics Chart 7 and also the Basic Phonics flashcards 17 through 34. I will say the special sounds twice so that you can listen the first time and say it with me the second time to help you learn it. BR says br in bride. BR says br in bride. DR says dr in drum. DR says dr in drum. PR says pr in pray. PR says pr in pray. GR says gr in grin. GR says gr in grin. SM says sm in smoke. SM says sm in smoke. SC says sk in scat. SC says sk in scat. SK says sk in skate. SK says sk in skate. SP says sp in spade. SP says sp in spade. CR says cr in crab. CR says cr in crab. TW says tw in twins. TW says tw in twins. SPL says spl in splash. SPL says spl in splash. SPR says spr in spring. SPR says spr in spring. SCR says scr in scream. SCR says scr in scream. SQU says squip in squeak. SQU says squip in squeak. SN says sn in snack. SN says sn in snack. SL says sl in sleep. SL says sl in sleep. STR says str in stream. STR says str in stream. SW says swip in swim. SW says swip in swim. That's the end of Basic Phonics Chart 7. Follow along to the next video to learn.
All you need to use this app is a piano and a kid.
Wait, what?
Simply put them together.
This is a Becca Basic Phonics Chart 8 and also the Basic Phonics flashcards 35 through 52. I will say the special sounds twice, so listen the first time if you don't know it, and say it along with me the second time. If you do know it, say it both times with me. It will just help you remember it faster. THR says thr in 3. THR says thr in 3. AR says R in stars. AR says R in stars. CH says ch in church. CH says ch in church. OR says or in morning. OR says or in morning. OU says ow in out. OU says ow in out. OW says ow in owl. OW says ow in owl. OW says O in bowl. OW says O in bowl. ER says in verse. ER says in verse. UR says in nurse. UR says in nurse. IR says in bird. IR says in bird. OI says oi in coin. OI says oi in coin. If you hear the oi sound in the middle of a word, it is OI usually. OI comes in the middle of a word. OY says oi in boy. OY says oi in boy. OY is for when you hear the oi sound at the end of a word, like in boy. OY is oi at the end of a word. OI is in the middle. Remember that, and it will help you spell your words better. OO says in book. OO says in book. OO can also say ooh in tooth. OO can say ooh in tooth. WOR says were in worms. WOR says were in worms. IGH says I in night. IGH says I in night. ALL says all in ball. ALL says all in ball. ALK says alk in walk. ALK says alk in walk. That's the end of Basic Phonics Chart 8. Follow along to the next video to learn Basic Phonics Chart 9. If you know it, you can say it with me both times. If you don't, listen the first time and say it with me the second time to help you learn faster. The suffix ing says ing in pointing. Ing says ing in pointing. Kn says in not. Kn says in not. Gn says in net. Gn says in net. Ang says ang in bang. Ang says ang in bang. Ing says ing in king. Ing says ing in king. Ong says ong in long. Ong says ong in long. Ung says ung in strung. Ung says ung in strung. Ank says ank in bank. Ank says ank in bank. Ink says ink in wink. Ink says ink in wink. Onk says onk in honk. Onk says onk in honk. Unk says unk in trunk. Unk says unk in trunk. Wa says wah in wash. Wa says wah in wash. A says in adopt. A says in adopt. Y says E in baby. Y says E in baby. Le says in little. Le says in little. Ed says ed in wanted. Ed says ed in wanted. Ed says t in looked. Ed says t in looked. Ed says d in played. Ed says d in played. That's the end of Basic Phonics Chart 9. Follow along with me to the next video to learn Basic Phonics Chart 10. This is a Becca Basic Phonics Chart 11, and it's also the Basic Phonics flashcards 89 through 105.
Everything's better when it's free, including filing your taxes. But who actually qualifies for
This is a Becca Basic Phonics Chart 9, and it's also the Basic Phonics flashcards 53 through 70. This is a Becca Basic Phonics Chart 12, and it's
Chart 10. W in whale, W in whale, W-H, W-H. H in who, W-H, W-H. Ch in patch, T-C-H, T-C-H. Ear in ear, E-A-R, E-A-R. Air in bear, E-A-R, E-A-R. In earth, E-A-R, E-A-R. Old in gold, O-L-D, O-L-D. In lamb, M-B, M-B. Oo in flu, E-W, E-W. U in few, E-W, E-W. E in rainy, Y, Y. In bigger, E-R, E-R. Est in biggest, E-S-T, E-S-T. Lee in slowly, L-Y, L-Y. And in sharpen, E-N, E-N. As in peaches, E-S, E-S. Isled in child, I-L-D, I-L-D. Ind in kind, I-N-D, I-N-D. Chart